Madam Speaker, the American people don't want a government takeover of health care. I heard it at town hall meetings across eastern Indiana this weekend and at a rally at the State House in Indianapolis yesterday where over 1,000 gathered on short notice. Now, I know many in the Democratic leadership and the administration don't like us to call it a government takeover of health care, but when you mandate that every American purchase health insurance, whether they want it or need it or not, you mandate what's in that insurance. You set up a government-run insurance exchange to control what kind of insurance people can buy and set up a massive bureaucracy, even a new health care czar to govern all of it. That sure looks to me like a government takeover of health care. The American people know it. Now, clear majorities of this country have rejected this approach. But nevertheless, as we read in the papers, Congress is intent this week on bringing this legislation, seemingly by any means, to the floor of the House of Representatives. And I want to speak about those means today. I mean, the choice that the leadership of the Congress has before them is whether or not to bring the wildly discredited Senate bill to the floor of the House of Representatives. But the truth is, the bill, with its Cornhusker kickback, with its public funding of abortion, simply couldn't pass the House floor. There's just not the votes for it. But it seems at this moment what we hear is that the Democratic leadership here in Congress is so desperate to pass this government takeover of health care that they're willing to twist the rules of the House and the Senate into a pretzel to get it done. But I'm not here to talk about the arcane rules of the Senate and reconciliation that the follow-on bill would be an abuse of. I'm not even here to talk about the rules of the House. I'm here to really talk about the Constitution of the United States of America. I mean, this so-called slaughterhouse rule that is being proposed, the idea that the Senate bill could be deemed as passed on the House floor without members of Congress being asked to vote for it, I believe is not just tramples on the common sense and insults the intelligence of the American people, but it really tramples on the Constitution of the United States. Let me break it down for you. Now, I've understood this since the first time I saw Schoolhouse Rock about how a bill becomes a law. And that little bill danced up the House steps when I was a kid. But let me read it. It's in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 7. Every bill shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the President of the United States. There it is. As we learned as school children, as it says in the Constitution, a bill becomes a law after it has passed the House of Representatives. Not after it was deemed to pass, not after it was buried in a procedural motion that no one really has to say they support it, but after it has passed on the floor of the House of Representatives. Now, some will say that well, Republicans just want to talk about process here. We're trying to do something for health care. Well, wait a minute. The processes that are in the Constitution of the United States exist to protect the liberty of the American people and hold those who govern them responsible. The reason our founders enshrined in the Constitution of the United States the requirement that bills might not become laws unless they pass on the House floor is so that they could hold accountable the decisions that the men and women who would serve in this chamber throughout our history would make. Madam Speaker, the very idea that the Senate bill could be adopted by the House without any vote on the floor is anathema to the Constitution of the United States. And I believe it's an insult to the American people. I would say respectfully, Madam Speaker, if you have the votes, vote the Senate bill on the floor. Let's bring it down here. Let's have a good long debate about that bill that passed the Senate on Christmas Eve, with all of its backroom deals and its public funding for abortion and its individual mandates and its tax increases. But if you don't have the votes, let's scrap the bill. Let's start over. Let's commit ourselves to building health care reform on the principles of limited government and free market economics. Let's pass health care reform that will lower the cost of health insurance rather than growing the size of government. And for heaven's sakes, whatever we do, let's go forward this week in a way that honors those who have gone before, those who have fought for this Constitution. Let us live up to the ideals of our founders and the expectation of our people. and let's throw this slaughterhouse rule business in the trash heap where it belongs. I yield back.